This training is focused on policy brief, development and influencing policy and policy advocacy. And we feel that this is important because across the globe, especially in the global south and in sub-Saharan Africa, the landscape of research and innovation is somehow, um, you know, you have more percentage of researchers in that landscape. And some people have said that because of the way we are trained, we do not really influence policies. We see policy think tanks coming up trying to take evidence from our research to influence policy. So, but if we can also learn how to make sure that our research work, this mainly scientific research work, and in this instance, an emerging technology, artificial intelligence, is you know used or developed in such a way that they can provide evidence for research, please evidence for policy making, it will be very good. And so yesterday we looked at the components of policy brief, how to make it, realistic, how to link what we're doing to, influencing policy. And one thing we could see clearly is that if you have a research title or research focus, that research focus may not translate to policy unless you learn how to extract the key information and tailor them to policy making by tailoring them to draw the attention of policymakers. And we saw that in the triple helix, we have the researchers, we have the government, we have the private sector actors, including, yeah, the NGOs, the civil society actors. But the people that drive policy, as we identified yesterday, basically is the government. Why they drive policy is that apart from financing research and innovation across Africa, they are also the ones that make the rules. We call them regulations, the laws that guide the use of tools or technology. So if what we're doing um, do not align with um, what they want to do, it becomes a problem that our research will always lie in the shelf. And so you can see thousands of publications coming from particular fields, but you don't see it translating to policies, regulations that will drive system change. And so this is what we're trying to change. This narrative is what we're trying to change by training ourselves to understand how we can, you know, sift out information from our key research that will appeal to the policymakers, and also learning how to engage them. If you are trying to engage them and you're being critical, so critical, you know what happens. So there are political dynamics that we should also understand that plays in what we're doing. Otherwise, I've said it in many forums, we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence in agriculture and food systems. We're also talking about artificial intelligence in policy making. We're talking about artificial intelligence in health in various sectors. We also earlier talked about IoTs, but you can see that we have thousands and tens of thousands of publications from researchers on the use of IoTs. But you now look at impact on the ground. How many of these IoTs are being utilized by the rural farmer or even in other sectors, in health sectors? So to drive this system change, we must influence policy, and then we learn how to influence policy. So, coming from that background, we want to move forward now to seeing some practical ways we can do that through a serious interactive and practical sections from one of our facilitators, Alfred Bennett, the program manager of ATPS. And yesterday, we were so happy that the executive director of ATPS, Professor Nicholas Ozo, could spare his time to give us an expert training on how to start off. We will not want to waste time. Towards the end, we will want Professor Nicholas also to give us a farewell speech, and then we now know the next steps. But we want to go straight into the program, the training itself. So I want to invite Alfred to take the floor and then train us. Alfred.
Thank you very much, Joel, for that introduction. I think it really gives us a go ahead and to continue from where we started yesterday. I want to appreciate Professor Nicholas Ozo, who is present, for his training yesterday and provided quite a very good background of how policy briefs are used in policy making and how to begin crafting a good policy brief that can be used to influence policy and practice. So we stopped yesterday by trying to understand some of the projects that you're doing and how they can be used to develop policy briefs that can then communicate to the policymakers and key stakeholders in the various sectors that you're working in. So I think we want to, we want to really get deeper into that. And so we left at a point where you were supposed to go back, look at your project, and come up with an outline that shows the kind of information you want to, the kind of policies you want to influence, and how you can structure your policy brief so that it communicates that information to the various stakeholders and especially the policymakers, so that then your work doesn't become one of the works that is left on the shelf, but can also be used to influence policy changes and also influence practice. So I want us to start by getting presentations from the grantees who gave the assignments. So you can briefly provide your two-pager very quickly. I will give you like 5 minutes each, so that we can begin to see what we are talking about, because it has to be, we are talking about evidence-based policy making. So we want you to present your evidence in a very simple and clear manner, such that then it can be understood by people who are not an expert in the field that you are working in. So, Joel, I don't know where we start with. Maybe should I go alphabetically, or whoever is ready can start and just give us what the 2 pages, a clear summary of what you want to communicate in your policy brief, so that then we can see, we work together to see how we can craft a good policy brief, which, as mentioned yesterday, we co-author. So there will be a series of reviews and back and forths between the research team here and you, so that we can co-author something that we can publish. So we can start with Hilda. I think you have volunteered. I hope so. So please go ahead.
Am I allowed to share?
Joel,
I'm not allowed to share. So do I read what I have?
Go on. Go on. We don't allow sharing now.
Okay.
Just go on to talk to us, and then let us share
Okay, so,
email.
Okay, so some of the key findings that we have had in our research on pest occurrence early warning system and diagnostic tool development using geoinformation and artificial intelligence, a case study of tomato leaf miner in Machakos County, has been a high impact of pest on tomato production. That is one of the things that we were able to confirm from our baseline survey, that we have 80 to 100% yield losses, making this particular research very significant. One of the other key findings was the use of remote sensing data and AI, the fact that Landsat temperatures or remote sensing data is very key in and effective in monitoring pest occurrences and understanding the environmental conditions that favor the proliferation of Tuta absoluta. The other thing is the key findings was that the PEMOS tool that was developed as a mobile-friendly platform that integrates both GIS and machine learning models was providing an early warning system that enabled the pest management recommendations, being the fact that this tool utilizes Landsat daily Landsat temperatures to deliver alerts to farmers about pest occurrences, and therefore leading to the other key finding of improved integrated pest management, where the project was able to demonstrate a reduction of chemical methods in pest control among piloted tomato farmers, and an uptake of biological control, which was introduced during the project period. We also had a key finding on gender inclusion in the project. Bringing in a balanced implementation team is very key in ensuring that all aspects, both male and female perspectives, are considered in enhancing the project's overall effectiveness. So what are the policy recommendations? Investment in advanced pest monitoring system is key, where government and stakeholders should invest in the development and deployment of advanced monitoring systems like PEMOS. Such systems will utilize remote sensing and AI technologies to provide timely and accurate pest forecasts and helping farmers to take proactive measures and minimize crop losses. Promotion, our next recommendation is promotion of integrated pest management, something that has been going on, but when you look at what ICIPE says, the uptake has been very low. So here we are saying the policy recommendation is encourage the adoption of IPM practices that combine biological, cultural, mechanical, and chemical methods for sustainable pest control. And therefore we should have training programs that should be able to be available to farmers to enhance their understanding, because that understanding did not appear to be very clear during the baseline survey. The other policy recommendation is enhanced data collection and sharing, establish a robust framework for continuous collection of data related to pests among stakeholders. This is to leverage the use of remote sensing technologies to monitor environmental conditions and pest population, and therefore make it accessible to farmers, researchers, and policymakers. The fourth one is strengthen capacity building initiative, implement comprehensive capacity building programs for both farmers and extension officers to ensure that the skills and knowledges for pest monitoring tools are and adoption is effective for pest management practices. This initiative should be inclusive and ensuring equal participation of both men and women. We should also have support gender inclusive policies when it comes to these pest management aspects, develop and enforce policies that promote gender inclusivity in agricultural projects. I believe we've been doing quite a lot on that. And then what are the key messages? Advanced technology for pest management, leveraging GIS, remote sensing, and AI technologies can significantly improve the prediction and management of pest threats, protecting crops and enhancing food security. Economic and environmental benefits, investing in early warning systems and integrated pest management practices can reduce crop losses, increase agricultural productivity, and promote sustainable farming practices while protecting the environment. Number 3 bullet, inclusive approach. Gender inclusivity in project design and implementation will ensure both female and male farmers benefit equally, leading to more comprehensive and effective agricultural solutions. The fourth one, policy support is crucial. Strong policy support and investment in advanced pest management tools are essential for scaling up these innovations and achieving long-term agricultural sustainability in Africa. That is it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Hilda. I think that's a very good attempt, because clearly you know what you want to communicate. So the way to craft some of those recommendations messages will be key to communicating exactly what you need. So today, I think later on, after hearing from everyone, I will be able to take all of us through a process of generating these policy recommendations and also the key messages for your policy brief. So that is a very good attempt. I don't know whether there is anyone who has a comment about that. I know we are not seeing this, but clearly you can, from what you're hearing from her, it seems that everything is clear. Only how to frame it would be the issue that we will be able to take forward during the preparation of the policy briefs. Any comment from anyone, especially the contributors? Okay, if not, then I think we can go to the next presenter. Mama. Yes, Pauline.
Good afternoon. Maybe I can go next. So I'm here in place of Dr. Betsy from Strathmore University, who was here yesterday and gave a brief presentation. So I'll start because we have brief timings. So the background of our project was that Kenya is heavily dependent on smallholder farmers, and smallholder farmers make up 70% of the farming population in Kenya. These farmers who we rely on for our food face significant challenges due to climate change and unpredictable weather patterns, which affect crop yields and food security. So currently, weather monitoring in Kenya is largely centralized, which often results in delayed, generalized, and less accessible weather information for rural farmers. So this project, led by Strathmore, proposes the adoption of decentralized mini weather stations using IoT and AI, artificial intelligence technologies, to provide hyper-localized weather data. And the rationale for this is that Kenya's agricultural productivity is projected to decline by up to 15% by 2080. And since smallholder farmers make up 80% of our agricultural output and over 70% of smallholder farmers in Kenya, many of whom are women, lack access to reliable weather information, the entirety of this situation makes them vulnerable to climate variability. 50% of radar stations in Africa do not produce accurate data to predict hourly or even daily weather, and a 7-day forecast in a rich country can be more accurate than a 1-day forecast in some low-income ones. So IoT and AI technologies will offer a cost-effective solution for real-time weather monitoring and data-driven agricultural practices. The methodology we used was field situational mapping to identify key gaps and target areas in Busia County. The mini weather stations are co-designed with the farmers using low-cost durable components, including sensors for soil moisture, internal temperature, atmospheric air temperature, and humidity. They're also powered by solar energy to ensure that sustainability and to reduce the operational costs for farmers. The data is transmitted using GSM or GPRS communication modules, which are chosen for their reliability and coverage in rural areas. Deployment areas were selected based on proximity, climatic conditions, and existing climate-smart agricultural activities. So the stations collect data on key weather parameters, which are essential for daily agricultural decision-making. The functionality, data quality, connectivity, power management, user interface, maintenance, and scalability of the weather stations are continuously monitored. But there's a major issue of unstable network connectivity that negatively impacts the performance and use of the monitoring system. And we are exploring alternative communication technologies such as long-range networks, which are designed for long-distance communication and require less power than traditional cellular networks. So LoRa networks can serve as a backup or a primary communication method even in areas with poor GSM coverage. So key findings are that farmers with access to real-time weather data made better informed decisions in regards to weather enhancing climate-smart agricultural practices. And involving the farmers in the design, deployment, and management of mini weather stations fostered a sense of ownership and responsibility, enhancing the perceived value and sustainability of the technology. Decentralized systems ensured that even remote marginalized communities received accurate weather information, and development and scaling of such decentralized systems, however, will be hampered by issues of network coverage that prevent reliable data transmission, as mentioned, from decentralized weather stations and access to information by smallholder farmers. Training programs specifically targeted female farmers addressing gender disparities in access to weather information. Like we had mentioned, women make up most of these farmers. So what are our policy recommendations so far? Bullet 1, incorporate decentralized weather monitoring systems within the mandate of the Kenya Meteorological Service Authority under the Meteorological Bill 2024 to ensure regulatory compliance and nationwide scalability. 2, provide financial incentives, subsidies, and technical support to smallholder farmers and community groups for the purchase, installation, and maintenance of mini weather stations. 3, implement ongoing training programs for farmers, focusing on the use of localized weather data for agricultural decision-making, with a particular emphasis on reaching women and marginalized groups. 4, work with telecommunication providers to improve GSM, GPRS network coverage in rural and remote areas. This can be achieved through incentives or public-private partnerships aimed at expanding network infrastructure to undeserved regions. So in conclusion, these are our key messages. Decentralized weather monitoring systems provide precise real-time weather information tailored to specific localities, empowering farmers with the knowledge needed to adapt to climate variability. 2, by decentralizing weather data collection and dissemination, even the most remote and undeserved communities can benefit from accurate and timely weather information. 3, the low-cost design and community-centric deployment model makes mini weather stations a viable solution for widespread adoption across Kenya. And 4, the Met Bill 2024 provides an opportunity to incorporate decentralized weather monitoring systems into the national framework, enhancing the reach and effectiveness of weather stations. Thank you for listening.
Wow, thank you very much, Betsy and your team, Jill, for that. I think even the people who are listening can hear that in 5 minutes we've heard about lots of weather information and neural networks that are being deployed in Kenya, and how they are contributing towards providing accurate weather information to the rural farmers, especially the smallholder farmers. So that's quite something that we can really communicate in Kenya, other areas that want to deploy these tools for acquiring quality weather data. We understand that in Africa, the availability of data has been an issue in many areas, given that the infrastructure for having very good equipment for data collection could be very expensive, given the competing priorities in Africa. So that could be a solution that can be deployed in various areas and maybe solve that situation. So I appreciate that. I think we can, that's something we can work with and be able to really communicate clearly. Yes, Sonia Semedo, please proceed.
Good morning. Thank you, Alfred. I want to go after Bessie, because I think our project is similar and the recommendation will be also similar. So in Cape Verde, what we have is we have prolonged droughts that are impacting agriculture, and only 7.8% of the agriculture landscape is using on irrigation agriculture, mostly mostly small plot for small farmers. And the idea, what we learn with this project is maybe we don't need each farmer to have his own IoT system. So what we intend to do is maybe work with some partners to install an IoT, a social IoT, that the most expensive part of the IoT is the communications. BSS also have these issues, the communication and the coverage of the telecommunication system, where the community could share the communications gateway, and each small farmer has his own private area where he can control the land and trigger the irrigation. Because what we developed was a smart irrigation system where we monitor the soil condition, the weather parameters, and the water availability. And based on that, we recommend the best schedule to trigger the irrigations. And we also develop a drone and capacitate the farmers to just work together collaboratively, and the pilot can just mapping all the area. Then they give us the information, and we will send to all the farmer and privately what was the issues on the camp, on the field. If you have some infestation, if we have some water issues, we can just send them a private message, and then they can just go there and check what is the problem. So we had the opportunity to engage some stakeholders from the United Nations, because we set up some pilots, and they go there and say, okay, this is a good approach. Is it possible to scale up this for another valley like this? And say, okay, but we need to talk with the Ministry of Agriculture. So they say, maybe we should go there and try to explain how the project works, and what are the main challenge for the agriculture, the farmers, and try to see if they can support us with the social IoT. Then the university will also work on that close to the farmers to support each farmers individually. So for the policy, the key finding was the technological integrations, because now we have the smart irrigation system that we will develop, combine the manual one with the solenoid valves for better farmer acceptance, and the community-based gateway for sensor communication will reduce the individual cost. Also, they use just one drone to map all the field with wood, because we have the community engagement, and also we did capacity building on drone pilot and smart irrigation techniques. And for policy recommendations, I think we should support technological adoption in agriculture, maybe provide some financial support for small farmers to adopt IoT and AI technology. And we should also encourage public-private partnerships to facilitate the access to advanced agriculture tools. We should develop a solution, but community-based solution, because first we need to understand what is the real issues with the community and try to give them a solution for these issues. The key message for policymakers was that it's possible to empower through the technology. By using IoT and artificial intelligence, we can transform traditional agriculture practice and enhance the productivity and sustainability. But we need also to focus on the community needs, and the capacity build is crucial. And as a research, something else it must be said, we must say the policymakers and the other stakeholders that the academia should not be left behind, because we know how to contribute to these policy decisions. So this is what I want to share.
Thank you very much, Sonia, Dr. Sonia. It's quite a handy project. I wish I was an expert in AI and be able to get to understand that. But from what I've heard is that there are many activities that you've implemented that are aimed towards supporting smallholder farmers, and that the recommendation that you're making is to improve on the networks, the communication networks, and also in terms of investment in these IoT what are the equipment that can be used to support the farmers, smallholder farmers. I don't know whether there is anyone with a comment on Sonia's presentation. If not, then I think we can move ahead. Let me invite Patrick Mensah.
Yes, good afternoon. So, our project is on developing an artificial intelligence-based mobile app and a web app for the detection of crop pests and diseases. So, after developing this project, we did user training. So the idea was to allow farmers to actually use the app and to demonstrate whether they can use it appropriately and effectively. Now, the problem we realized was that most of the farmers were not able to use the app the way they are supposed to use it. In other words, digital literacy is very low among the farmers. So for this policy brief, we are taking the promotion of digital literacy among farmers to improve the adoption of AI crop pest and disease applications as our topic. And as I mentioned earlier, the problem is we can develop the best artificial intelligence apps, but if the users are not skilled in using the app, or if the users do not know what to do with the app, then it will end up not being utilized at all. So the objectives of our brief, one is to prioritize and improve digital literacy among farmers, and this is to help in enhancing the adoption of AI in pest and disease detection applications. Objective 2 is to improve crop yield, to improve food security and reduce poverty through the effective utilization of agriculture-based AI technologies. Now, our policy recommendation include the following. The first one is to foster public-private partnership. So the idea is we should be able to create a conducive atmosphere for a partnership between public sector and the private sector, so that these sectors will be able to commit resources for making the training affordable to most of the farmers. Again, this partnership, we believe, can lead to the development of something like a low-cost but effective AI-powered applications that can be very efficient in the detection of crop pests and diseases. The second recommendation is to develop a development of a digital literacy training program, and it will be very important to develop and implement a comprehensive digital literacy program with modules and workshops, and again with online courses that will initially build a focus on building the introductory digital skills of the farmers. Then this program should also be structured in a way that the specific needs of the farmers concerning the utilization of the app would be addressed. The third recommendation is the setting up of knowledge or experience. Hello. Sorry. So the third recommendation is the setting up of a knowledge or experience sharing center. And this is to provide avenues for farmers to share their experiences and their insights, and then the best practices amongst themselves. So this mechanism can be used to promote peer learning so that farmers can offer their experiences to other farmers. Then the next recommendation is to promote continuous support and assistance. In this regard, what we are recommending is that we could set up a support system such as the e-kiosk to provide continuous support and guidance to these farmers, and to use the AI-based for the use of the AI-based disease detection application. So the idea is, if in the absence of a physical support center that is manned by humans, we can ensure that resources for technical assistance as well as resources for troubleshooting will be promptly made available to farmers during the use of the AI tools. Then recommendation 5 talks about tailoring the program, the training program, to suit existing programs. So for instance, we could collaborate with the Agriculture Extension Services so that digital literacy training schedules and modules will be integrated into existing agriculture extension services and programs. Again, the planning of digital literacy training should be done in such a way that the days on which this training will be done could be made to fall on days that the farmers will not go to the farms. So the days that they call the taboo days, they don't go to farm on those days. You would want to schedule your training on those days. Then the 6th recommendation is the recognition and incentives. So this concerns the provision of adequate incentives, such as awards and offer of recognition to farmers who will actually go ahead and use the app to detect crop pests and diseases, and also to benefit from it. The last recommendation is to provide learning resources in local languages. So the idea is to make available tutorials and resources and other educational materials in the local language to ensure that these farmers would understand what they are reading, because most of them are actually illiterate. Again, it is recommended that we avoid technical jargons during the training so that they can also be able to follow. Now, for this policy brief, the implementation plan includes carrying out a need assessment for the identification of the target communities and specific farmers. For our case, this shouldn't be a problem because we already have done this before we started the project. Then to develop the training program to include demonstrations, hands-on practicals, and other techniques that are local to the farmers to inure to their understanding. Then to establish a public-private partnership to enable the training to benefit those farmers. And then the last implementation plan is monitoring and evaluation, which is recommended to be carried out constantly to ensure the effectiveness of the program. Now, the key message here is that we may have the best app in the world for the improvement of anything, but if the user does not know what to do with the app, then it's as pretty useless as if we have not even designed it at all. So we need to actually put resources in the training so that the farmers will be digitally literate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick. That is quite a detailed presentation about how you have developed crop pests and diseases detection app, which I think, as you mentioned, you really focused more on not really development, but now how it is going to impact the farmers. And from your recommendations, which are quite a number, but from my understanding at the moment, you only mentioned more the capacity building aspect of it, and probably development of a program or even setting up a digital skills development centers for the use of the app. So maybe beyond the training programs for the utilization of the app, you should also be thinking about in your recommendations, they should not just be around capacity building only, but should also look at the broad-based enabling environment to allow utilization and adoption of your tool across Africa or across your country, Ghana. I think maybe we will look at what you have and see how best to proceed the policy brief. Otherwise, thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next person. I will call you if you're not.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Let's proceed. Good afternoon.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Dr. Elizabeth Jumoke Terigo, the immediate past president of the Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria, APWEN. It's a pleasure to do this presentation this afternoon on behalf of Professor Chinenye Anyadike. Our project title is using artificial intelligence to enhance the production management and marketing of Nsukka yellow pepper, Capsicum tenax Nsukka drillers in Nigeria. The project principal investigator, like I said, is Professor Chinenye Anyadike. The organization in charge is Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and Educare Limited, Nigeria. A brief into the background of the crop itself. Nsukka yellow pepper is a key agricultural product in Nigeria, particularly valued for its unique aroma, yellow color, and a high capsaicin content. The local economy of Nsukka relies heavily on this crop, with a significant portion of the farmers being rural women. However, its production faces challenges such as low productivity, nutrient-depleted soil, high water use, climate change impacts, pest attack, and inadequate market access. Rationale for this project. The project aims to address these challenges by leveraging on artificial intelligence and Internet of Things (IoT) technologies. The goal is to enhance the economic viability of Nsukka yellow pepper through early pest detection, soil nutrient monitoring, smart irrigation, and improve market access via an e-extension service application. This approach aims to increase productivity, reduce input costs, and empower women and youth farmers. Challenges that were addressed by the project. Number one, reduce productivity and yield of Nsukka yellow pepper. By leveraging on AI-based technologies, the project seeks to improve the productivity and yield of Nsukka yellow pepper. This includes using AI for disease detection, which can help in early identification and management of plant diseases, and IoT-based nutrient monitoring to optimize fertilizer use. 2, lack of digital tools like AI to stop rural women and youth to enhance early disease detection. The project focuses on empowering women and youth farmers by providing them with AI tools and technologies that can enhance their agricultural practices, leading to increased income and better livelihood opportunities. 3, market access and value chain enhancement. this has to enhancing the marketing and production management through digital platforms like Upwend Farm will help farmers access better market information, improve their bargaining power, effective record keeping, and increase their income as well. Potential factors for support. One, government agencies. Ministries of Agriculture, Environment, and Technology can provide policy support, fundings, and infrastructure to scale these projects. Two, international organizations. Bodies like FAO, UNDP, and the World Bank can offer technical assistance in funding and international exposure. Three, private sectors. Agri-tech companies, financial institutions, and market platforms can collaborate to provide technological solutions, financial services, and market access. Four, NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations, and community organizations. Local and international non-governmental organizations working in agricultural development and climate resilience can support capacity building and community engagement efforts. Fifth, academic and research institutions. Universities and research centers can contribute through research, innovation, and the dissemination of knowledge and best practices. Methodology. One, stakeholders agreement using key informant interview, focus group discussion to determine the priorities, needs of farmers, and to integrate the women and youth in the development of the tools to enable acceptability. This has to be done so that they will value, the technology that is to be done, and they'll be able to apply for increase in productivity. The second thing was done was data collections.
Excuse me,
Co-collation.
please don't go too much on the methodology. Please
Okay.
focus on the recommendations and key messages.
All right. Okay, I'll then go to key findings. The AI-based leaf disease detection system successfully identified healthy and unhealthy leaves. To the IoT system for nutrients and moisture monitoring optimized water usage and nutrient application, improving crop health and resource efficiency. The e-extension service application provided valuable support to farmers, enhancing their decision-making and market strategies. The integrated AI and OIT system demonstrated potentials for sustainable agriculture and climate resilience. For the training and retraining of farmers and extension agents are essential to increasing the adoption of AI tools in agriculture. Organizations of farmers in cooperatives increase access to finance and government support. Policy recommendations. One, promote technology adoption. And to encourage the adoption of AI and IoT technologies in agriculture in order to enhance productivity and sustainability through public-private partnership. Two, support women and youth farmers. Provide targeted support and training to empower women and youth in using modern agricultural technologies. Three, enhance market access. Facilitate market access to smallholder farmers through digital platform and direct marketing opportunities. Four, invest in research and development. Invest in continuous research and development of AI and IoT solutions tailored to local agricultural needs. Fifth, strengthen extension services. Enhance extension services by integrating digital tools and real-time advisory system to support farmers. 6 of the recommendations: ensure data accessibility. Ensure that agricultural data collected through AI and IoT system are accessible to researchers and policymakers for informed decision making. Key messages to stakeholders. 1. Advancing agricultural productivity through AI real-time pest detection system. Integrating AI for disease detection and IoT-based nutrient monitoring and water management system provides farmers with precise and timely information to manage their crops more effectively, leading to increased productivity and reduced losses. This will enhance the productivity and sustainability of Nsukka yellow pepper farming, ensuring higher yields and better quality products for farmers. 2. Empowering rural women and youth farmers in agriculture through provision of tools and skills to enhance climate change adaptation in agriculture. When rural women and young farmers are provided access to innovative technologies and capacity building initiatives that enable them to increase their agricultural outputs and gain better market access, the future of their work is assured and build resilience in adapting to climate change in the environment. And the last, enhancing market access, value chain efficiency, and e-extension services important in increasing agricultural productivity. The efficient use of e-extension services, service application, and other digital tools are helping farmers connect with markets, obtain real data price information, and manage their production processes more effectively, ultimately leading to higher incomes and improved livelihood, especially for rural women and youth farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. From my understanding, I know the project is it has quite a lot of results that can be used to communicate and support with yellow pepper farmers. And I know there's quite a lot of content there. I'm seeing you struggle coming up with so many recommendations that I think can be focused and be sharpened to provide very clear action points. Yes, Joel, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize Professor Elizabeth Teriro, the former president of APWEN, for her role in standing in for Professor Anyabike, who earlier wrote that she has a serious ear infection. So we understand that she may not have been part and parcel, but understands the project. So we want to appreciate her for at least understanding this project to this extent and making this presentation. We believe that when we work with the team, we can, trim down and, tailor whatever all the teams are bringing to a very super policy brief. So, Prof, please, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I know this is work in progress, so we will be able to sharpen some of the sections so that they become simple and clear and concise to avoid being wordy so much. I think even the key messages, there are very good points in there. But the way, when you're reading them, they sound like you're reading 10 pages of a document. Should be very short, precise, and clear. So let us go to the next person. Is it Alcado there or Mamadou Kebe? Whoever is ready, please.
Yes, good afternoon.
Proceed. Good afternoon, Alcado.
Yes, thank you, Alfred Nyambane, for the opportunity to present my project and some of the outputs and findings. So my name is Alcado Alex Barakapi from Sokoine University of Agriculture of Tanzania. So my project is titled AI for More Crops. That is an integrated machine learning and the Internet of Agro Things, crops performance monitoring, yield prediction and management systems. So the program.
Please, stick to 5 minutes, please.
Yes, yes, please. So we're addressing the challenge of monitoring crops performance in real time and predicting crop yields at a farm and district level for smallholder farmers, young women, and emerging farmers in Tanzania and Africa. So we had 3 objectives. So one is predicting, developing machine learning in the Internet of Agro Things, cloud computing, farm monitoring and management system. We had also an objective of developing a machine learning driven IoT low-cost sensor-based predictive models that accurately and efficiently predict crop yield to optimize agriculture outputs. So the last objective was to formulate a data-driven policy brief on crop prediction using match source, big data, IoT, and Internet of Artificial Intelligence. So, and we thank for this workshop on the policy brief coming out. So the methodology, we actually implementing the project in 2 regions. So we're collecting yield data from 2005 to 2022. We're investigating on the accuracy of different data inputs to predict crop yield. So these are the data that we collected from the Ministry of Agriculture in Tanzania. So we also collected data in real time from the IoT sensors that we were installing in the farm. And I hope I have demonstrated this several times. So we had 2 phases of data collection. The first phase was last year and the second phase was this year from January to June. So our target beneficiaries or market for the project was farmers, small scale and emerging farmers, farmer cooperation and associations. We had young farmers, women farmers, and the governments, of course. So some of the project achievements, we have managed to develop a small holder farming system using low-cost Internet of Agro Things, sensors, and the interactive cloud-based big data analytics monitoring system. And this system, of course, I'm very, very proud of this output, which have been demonstrated in Kigali during the Africa conference in Rwanda last year. I have demonstrated also this in the Voice of Africa exhibition, very, very large exhibition of agritech in Africa that was held in Morocco. And this was actually the invitation from UNESCO themselves. So I have also demonstrated this output during the national and non exhibitions. This is very, very big agriculture exhibitions in Tanzania. So I've also demonstrated this output during the science and technology exhibitions in Tanzania. That was July last year. So we have the preliminary findings on district level and farm level crop yield prediction models, which we've also actually now putting them into Juno paper outputs. So we have the an economic analysis and the feasibility document output of using agriculture IoT and the big data for small scale farmer monitoring and the yield prediction. We have also analyzed the cost benefit, financial profitability by a bit of applying sensors, AI and big data analytics tool to smallholder farmers in Tanzania and Africa, of course. So some of our research findings and outputs, we are also very proud to aid peers and ourselves that we have actually produced 4 outputs from these projects. One is the Juno paper that was published in the Tanzania Journal of Agriculture Science last year. The paper is called AI-driven.
Alcado, please. Hello, Alcado. I would
Yes.
like us to. You see, there was an assignment yesterday. Maybe some of us did not understand. I would like you to pattern after Manzi and Betsy team. We don't want to hear the outputs. What we want to hear are your key findings. Are you getting us? So go to
Yes.
the key findings, then go to your recommendations, and then what is your key message? If you have not drafted it, you can just wait so that we can, learn from this, because you are just representing our project. So, but while we are in policy, and that's why we're interested to make sure that what we do as researchers is to drive policy. So, what are the key findings that may influence policy? What are the key policy recommendations? We want to know. So just go straight to them. We know
Yes.
those demonstrations you have done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we actually have one of the key findings from the project is that the use of artificial intelligence and low-cost Internet of Agro Things technologies and the cloud-based big data analytics tools is very, very important for increasing agriculture productivity. So we have seen how these technologies can help smallholder farmers in collecting data in real time using sensors, for example, temperature sensor, soil moisture sensor, weather station sensors. When they are installed in the farm, they can be able to inform smallholder farmers on the climate conditions in real time, based depending on where the farmer is. He or she can access this kind of information in real time. So this is our key findings. And another finding from the project is that predicting crop yields, which is currently not done across Africa, is very, very important for our smallholder farmers in their budgets. And it's very, very also important for the for the banks or even those companies that are giving loans, even from the government, because having this kind of tool that can predict crop yield for smallholder farmers, the banks or smallholder farmers now can be trusted by banks for giving them loans. So this is our key findings. And we are currently actually collaborating with one of the banks in Tanzania and see how we can actually materialize these kind of tools for predicting crop yields. So on policy recommendations, so to ensure the acceptability of AI program among farmers, women, young farmers, and emerging farmers, seminar workshops, training events must be extended to them by introducing AI, the mechanics and the benefits of using AI in agriculture activities, production, the overall agriculture and the food system production, and make them keep abreast of the advance in digital farming. This is regarding to smallholder farmers. So the government of Tanzania, bullet number 2, or across Africa, should encourage and promote the use of AI and the IoT technologies for increasing agriculture productivity. Our policy recommendation number 3, the municipal agriculture, the universities, extension service agents, organizations must improve service access and the delivery of information towards digital reproductive technology to rural farmers through extension program services. So we are recommending that all agents' efforts in agri-tech for rural farmers must be properly coordinated to effectively and efficiently deliver the intended services to smallholder farmers. So our policy recommendation number 4, the program or project implementers of AI must be incentivized to motivate them to work effectively. The collection and the quality analysis of data, this is policy recommendation number 5. Data should be collected in a coordination with the computer applications, experts, data analytics, agronomists, keeping them in view of crop or expert models which can help smallholder farmers in their agricultural activities. So for keeping pace with the dynamic environment and the climatic conditions, this policy recommendation number 6, data should be collected on a real-time basis. So data that we need to use for AI and any other agri-tech development, whether it's an app or models, should be collected in real time. The last policy recommendation is data generated through agriculture trace, climate reanalysis data, satellite image, weather data, soil data, or proximity data should be used for predicting crop yields in Africa. So the conclusion and takeaway messages, this is to researchers. So I always insist, let us try to transform our ideas into startups so that we can save our local community. The last conclusion, the takeaway message to researchers and the policymakers is let us try to promote and implement the application of digital tools in agriculture and the food systems in Tanzania and Africa at the local and the community level. So this is all from AI for More Crops project. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Alcado. I knew you would defy my orders of saying 5 minutes. So that is why it is very important to understand why we write policy briefs. Because if you extend this kind of explanation to a policymaker, he will get bored and he will not even understand a thing. So it requires using very few minutes that we've been given to be able to communicate to this kind of people who may not really need the science details, but they would want to know how this tool can be used to support a farmer in Tanzania or in Dodoma or wherever. So let's go to the next person, Bandiga or Mamadou Kevin. Quickly, just 5 minutes. Focus on the key, focus on the recommendations. Just give us a background, and then the recommendations, and then key messages. Please, Fadiga, please.
Yeah, Fadiga, yeah. Thank you very much. I work on a project called Building Capacity in Artificial Intelligence for monitoring soil moisture and nutrient in irrigated agriculture. This project is based on that irrigation in Malawi is by trial and error. As a result, there is more inefficient water use. And with climate change, there is a major water efficient irrigation system required. And that's what was our rationale. Nevertheless, the Malawi irrigation system is still one of the most inefficient, and we need to have the irrigation system that is more. So we were building capacity on using AI tools in soil moisture monitoring that will help them to decide when and how much to irrigate. And we selected farmers, 22 farmers from each irrigation scheme, and gave them tools called chameleon sensors that were installed in the soil to monitor soil moisture. They were giving them, when it shows red, it shows colors, shows red, it shows that there's no moisture they should get. And when it's blue, there's enough moisture. And farmers were making decisions based on that. Our research was done within the 18 months that we did. And our findings is that the simple and smart soil moisture monitoring tools that we distributed gave farmers new frames of reference, which had helped them to make decisions on when and how to irrigate. And they were doing through learning by doing. So AI tools can be easily learned and applied. Well, if we use learning by doing, that's one of our findings. And with the reduction in irrigation that was experienced, the tools helped the farmer to improve on time, labor, and water saving. And since the tools were simple and more friendly, they could be used by illiterate people, even women, youth can easily use. So it incorporated the gender on all sides. And the AI tool also used reduced conflict of irrigation, because farmers now reduce the time of irrigating. Now they could have other time to do other works. And the findings also show that tools are social inclusive, where all genders, categories, or illiterate people can be able to implement this one. The policy recommendation is that as the government is investing in the irrigation hardware, they should also consider in building capacity in the artificial intelligence system that use irrigation water more efficiently, like the use of these soil moisture tools. And the other recommendation is that the Department of Irrigation and other development partners in irrigation development should be including AI tools in soil moisture monitoring as they are establishing the irrigation schemes, so that each and every scheme should be well monitored in irrigation management. And also the other recommendation is that the Ministry of Agriculture should initiate lobbying for import tax removal for AI tools so that smart irrigation can be adopted. The last recommendation is that Malawi government should promote and support public-private partnership business model on adopting these AI tools for achieving sustainable irrigation water management as well as climate change mitigation. The key messages is that they studied AI tools, which are chameleon sensor, chameleon leaders, and are very simple, farmer-friendly, and cheapest AI tools that farmer can easily adopt climate change, climate smart irrigation as they strive to adapt to climate change. And precise irrigation and yield optimization can only be achieved easily by adopting these tools. Public-private partnership is the best business model for upscaling the tools, and integration of AI tools in monitoring soil moisture and nutrient management should be recommended. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fadiga. I think I like the way you have put your recommendations. I think mentioning the actors and what exactly they're supposed to do is very critical when developing your policy recommendations. So let us go lastly to Mamadou Kebe.
Hello, I am Malik Njai. Mamadou Kebe is actually not available, I think, but I'm in Tolbi too.
Okay.
Okay, I would just jump in and try to provide what we have based on what was happening yesterday. So basically, the title of our approach is to make open source the yield square collection data for agricultural statistics for development of AI-based digital agriculture solution. We have some findouts, which is in sub-Saharan Africa region, losses increase as a result of non-adapted agricultural practices to climate change. And they are at least 30% based on what we have as resources and research approach. And the associated post-harvest losses are estimated at $4 billion. So with the development of climate smart agriculture, the main objective of our eTolbi AI project is to use a combination of artificial intelligence, satellite image, and voice IP, pushing local language to provide small-scale agriculture producer and inform national agriculture policy with real-time information on yield forecasting, using a field management platform that monitor plants' health, fertilizer, and water's needs. So basically, our rationale for action on this problem, first is to reduce post-harvest losses by 60 to 80% with an AI-based decision-making system and yield forecasting for producer and public organization, increase production as well as income for farmers and women especially by 30%. So optimizing agriculture inputs like fertilizer together with better plant health management. Our other rationale is to improve the output of family farm with adoption of new smart agricultural practice using AI and impact about 8,000 farmers, in which we can find about 50% of women by 223 in our country in Senegal and 1 million farmer by 2030 across Africa. So our policy recommendation is to establish a regulatory framework for the sharing of agricultural statistic data by the Department of Agriculture Ministry and ensure participatory financing of that department on data collection activity by the Ministry of Agriculture and the private sector and development partner, and implement standardized fair data collection protocol to ensure the creation of added value for them. This is what we come out with. Hello?
We are hearing you. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So it's only one recommendation, policy recommendation.
We have 3 recommendations. Establishing a regulatory framework for the sharing of agricultural statistical data by Ministry of Agriculture. Ensure the participatory financing of all those tools, and implementing a standardized fair data collection protocol to ensure the creation of added value for all the stakeholders.
Okay. Thank you very much. So no key messages. All right. Thank you.
Basically.
All right. So that is why we are here. We need to learn how to craft these policy recommendations and the key messages. I want to appreciate all of you for the efforts. I think you, even yourself, you are now beginning to see whether your project was relevant to influence policy and practice in your country or in your areas where you're working. So it is important when you design your project, it should focus on a particular problem. It should be informed by evidence of problems that are there. And then you should also look at how that project is in line with the priorities of your country and the priorities of the world, in the global issues that we are facing. And then you need to look at the policies that we have, whether they are providing for the actions that you are trying to come up with that would be able to, solutions that you are trying to develop. And then finally, you need to tap whatever findings or information you have found from your study, connect that with your problems and how that study of yours is going to contribute to solving those problems. And then these actions will be in form of policy recommendations that you will embed to the stakeholders and especially the policymakers, who will then influence, who will then come up with action plans or policies that will aim to take up your recommendations. So I just want to take these few remaining minutes to take you through the process, through a presentation that will be able to show you how to craft your policy recommendations, and then also how to craft your key messages so that when a stakeholder gets your paper or your policy brief, is able to understand your whole project and what it is going to do for the people, for the beneficiaries. And that helps in summarizing a lot of confusing science and jargon that we normally use in writing our papers. So allow me to share the presentation with you. Please let me know if it is already shared and whether it is full screen now. Okay. Is everybody, are you able to see the screen? Somebody respond.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. All right. So yesterday we had a very detailed discussion on how policies, policy briefs can be used to effectively communicate to the policymakers and stakeholders to inform policy review or policy and practice. And we said it is a brief and concise, well-structured document that presents key information, analysis, and recommendations to policymakers on a specific issue. So crafting an effective policy recommendation requires a critical look at what you have studied under your projects and trying to convert that information in a simple document which will communicate to the various stakeholders that can then lead to meaningful change. So I'm particularly talking about recommendations because yesterday we discussed about the various sections of a policy brief and how what kind of information goes into those different areas. And today we've heard from all of the grantees, those are 8 grantees, no, 10 grantees, that or the kind of projects that they have undergone, and they have a background, they have a rationale for that, they have findings which could be very complicated, and therefore, when you're crafting your policy brief, you need to come up with very, very clear and structured findings that can communicate your message clearly to those who do not understand the deep science that is being implemented. So the first step of formulating a policy recommendation is to clearly define the policy issue that is at hand. This involves thoroughly researching and understanding the problem, the causes and implications to stakeholders. So you define precisely why, what policy issue are you looking at? And as I mentioned before, your study must have, usually has a background where you're providing the problem, stating the problem. And in research, we say that once we have a well-defined problem, the problem is half solved. So, and so is the case for policy brief development. You need to have a clear understanding of the problem. And then you are required in your study, then you need to look at the data, you gather data, you consult. That's a kind of methodology you're doing key informant interviews, so that you can deeply comprehend and understand the policy issues before moving forward. So there is all sorts of methodologies that you use in data collection, from desk studies to key informant interviews, and where the information that you collect provides the clear gaps and identifies the real issues that are affecting the particular area that you're looking at. So again, you see in policy development, usually there are various areas that options that are available. So when you design your project, you know exactly which areas you're looking at, and that's why we clearly in research, you look at the objectives of your study, and you look at the implications, the rationale, and you look at what is existing. So mostly the aim is to look at what is versus what can be in terms of improving. So, during literature search, you would be able to evaluate and look at the existing policies, then look at new proposals, policy proposals, and you also look at what kind of stakeholders that are involved in these processes. So that's then when you're gathering information, you make sure that all these stakeholders are included, and of course they are engaged, and they provide their own insights around what you're studying. So there are other things that are considered, but in our case here, we're looking at a study that has already been done, and you know what the study aims to bring out. So there is results, and there is what you would want to do in terms of aligning your study with the problems and a solution that you are seeking. So going straight to policy recommendations, as we had yesterday, a policy brief is supposed to communicate clearly and concisely. So clarity and concision is very important. That's why we don't need lots of complicated stuff in policy briefs. Policy recommendations should be written in a straightforward and easy to understand manner, so we avoid the jargon and technical language. Then it should be actionable. You should be able to say who is supposed to do whatever you are recommending. So it should be actionable and measurable in some cases. There is also need to have a strong rationale. It should be able to be based on a particular issue that your study was trying to address. So it has to have a rationale. So each recommendation should be accompanied by a clear and compelling rationale backed by evidence and analysis. So in some cases, you would want to provide facts and figures to support your recommendation. Then there is an aspect of prioritization. You're looking at, you may have many priority, options, policy options, but then you look at what can be viable. So if multiple recommendations are made, clearly indicate the order of priority and the potential impact of each recommendation. So don't just throw too many recommendations, but they should be very key, 3-4 recommendations that can be actioned and that can be prioritized in terms of what you want to really achieve from your study. So creating an effective policy recommendation in a policy brief involves a systematic approach where we need to ensure that they are clear, actionable, and evidence-based. So step one of this process requires you to begin by clearly defining the issue that the policy recommendation aims to address. This sets the context and justifies the need for the recommendation. For example, in this case, I am using something that I've been doing recently. We look at, for example, Ethiopia's climate resilience. That is the problem. Ethiopia's climate resilience efforts are hindered by fragmented institutional frameworks and insufficient coordination among stakeholders. So you can see this is the problem. There is fragmented institutional frameworks in implementing Ethiopia's climate resilience. And therefore, this causes problems in terms of coordinating the different stakeholders. So that is identity. The problem is clearly identified. Then you look at, you propose a specific solution. So from your study, based on your study, you might have come up with simple solutions from your findings. So state the recommendation clearly and concisely. It should propose specific action or change to address the identified problem. Following the same example, a recommendation could be, for that case of Ethiopia, is establish a centralized coordinating body to oversee the implementation of nationally determined contributions, NDC. For those who are familiar with the issues of climate change, the Paris Agreement, the countries are developing NDCs and implementing them based on what they prioritize as areas of need in terms of mitigation, adaptation issues. So clearly there you can see a solution could be the establishing a centralized coordinating body to oversee the implementation of the NDCs. Then number 3, provide detailed actions. So you can break down the recommendation into specific actions that can be taken to achieve the desired outcome. For example, here, an action could be, for this example here is, we create a national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment in Ethiopia. So the solution was to develop a centralized coordination body, but then you require to be very specific on what kind of body are we talking about. Create a national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment. So that is a detailed action activity, and even going further to name that coordination unit. Then step 4 is to justify the recommendation. How are you justifying that? Explain the rationale behind the recommendation. This includes the benefits it will bring and how it addresses the problem. Remember, this is a policy recommendation which has various parts of it. So I've listened to most of your recommendations, which are basically statements that are, you have not really gone into details to show the action. There is some, in some of them there are actions. In some of them you even mentioned the actor was supposed to do that. And in some instances there were aspects of trying to justify why are you recommending that. So the rationale is critical. So this, for example, our example on the Ethiopia case, the development or the establishment of a national coordinating unit will streamline efforts, reduce duplication, and ensure coherence among or across various climate initiatives. So this is the reason behind, this is what justifies the development of these climate coordination units in Ethiopia. Step 5, support the evidence. Back up the recommendation with evidence from research. You have conducted your study, so you have a lot of evidence as to why you want to recommend this. Provide a snapshot of that. So you provide an evidence from research or case studies or data to demonstrate its effectiveness and feasibility. So in our example, successful models in countries with centralized climate governance structures have shown improved NDC implementation and monitoring. So this is evidence. From your study, you have seen that in many case studies that from your literature review and from, of course, your key informant interviews, case studies that you've gone through, many countries have centralized climate governance structures, which they have demonstrated that they are working and they are providing the necessary leadership or necessary coordination that is required there. So that is important. So in short, we need to look at this policy recommendation in three specific items. So the recommendation is establish a centralized coordinating body for NDC implementation. So the action there is creation of that national coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment. Then the rationale is that centralized body will streamline efforts to reduce duplication and ensure coherence across various climate initiatives. And the evidence is that we have evidence of countries that have successful models where centralized climate governance structures have been shown to work and to work very effectively. So for instance, we are looking at Kenya's Climate Change Directorate has effectively coordinated national efforts and enhanced the implementation of climate policies. So within your recommendation, your policy recommendation, you have the three things. We have the action, we have the rationale, and we have the evidence. So these are just additional tips. It has to be clear, concise, it has to be action-oriented, has to be realistic, and has to be a prioritized thing. So if there are multiple recommendations, that recommendation you must arrange them and pick the 3 to 5 priority recommendations that are actionable, realistic, and that are very clear. So an example here is, I want to just read this. I think this is the application. So what are we saying? This is an example of a policy recommendation statement, and try to see all those components. That is the action, the rationale, the evidence. So this one reads, Ethiopia should establish a centralized national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment to oversee the implementation of nationally determined contributions, NDCs. So what you need to go further with a full column. You need to go further and explain this. So this unit, so you're trying to give a rationale, you're trying to give evidence, and what else? The action. The action is already stated. So remember, this statement is self-sustaining. You are not just saying establish a centralized coordination unit. No, this is a complete sentence that explains exactly where this coordination, the name of the coordination unit, it tells you where you are going to establish it and what it is going to do. So there is an action here. So don't just say, don't put the recommendation very briefly. It should be self-contained. It should be self-explanatory, and it should be a bit detailed to show the action, where it is happening, and who is involved, and what it will do. So establish, or Ethiopia should establish a centralized national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment to oversee the implementation of nationally determined contributions, NDCs. This unit will streamline efforts, reduce duplication, and ensure coherence across various climate initiatives, addressing the current issue of fragmented institutional frameworks and insufficient stakeholder coordination. So you will see, we are now explaining what this coordination unit will do and how it will change things. So it will streamline efforts, reduce duplication, and ensure coherence across various climate initiatives, addressing the current issue of fragmented institutional frameworks and insufficient stakeholder coordination. Evidence from successful models such as Kenya's Climate Change Directorate demonstrates that centralized climate governance structures significantly improve NDC implementation and monitoring, leading to more effective climate resilience efforts. So I hope that this is clear. That is how to state your policy recommendation. It needs to be very, very clear and to the point, and that you know who and who are supposed to do this, and the rationale behind that recommendation. So there, when you're presenting, you know, once you have your policy briefs, that you will use that as something that you can share to the different stakeholders and, of course, the policy makers. But when you're going into the policy makers and you have been given an opportunity, especially during the processes of policy development, you need to really have a clear explanation of your policy recommendations. Sometimes you may need to have visual aids that can help those people understand. But this is a step further when we're doing advocacy, when you're in the processes of policy development because yesterday we learned about policy influence, and these policies can come up from the different stakeholders that are involved in the space that you're working in. So you need to really think about this structure of how you're going to present it. The visual aids, because help people see figures, the flow diagrams help a lot in understanding. Then you should be able to anticipate any concerns that may come up from the audience or the policymakers so that you are able to respond effectively. So I want to quickly, because of time, I think we are beyond the time we had put. I want us to look at how to state key messages. That's very important. Very quickly, I don't want to take any more time. So you need to identify the core points. I've had some of the key messages coming from the grantees. Some of them are incoherent and they are not really focusing on the key issue that should be addressed. So it needs to be, these are the points. You know, the key messages are the top. They are like an executive summary. The top of your policy brief. It gives a clear and concise message that helps in making the policymaker or the stakeholder to understand. So the first step is to understand or identify the core points, determine the most critical aspects of the policy brief that you want to highlight. These usually include problem statements, key findings, main recommendations, and the rationale behind them. So we said yesterday that key messages come after you have written your entire policy brief, including policy recommendation, so that when you go back, you highlight the key points that are being brought by this policy brief. It should be clear and concise. The key messages should be brief and to the point. Aim for 1 or 2 sentences per message. Some of you, I had speaking a lot of things in one key message. You need 1 to maximum 3 short sentences that are very clear and they are easily understandable. 3, emphasize action and impact. Focus on the actions that are needed or that need to be taken and the expected outcomes or benefits. This helps to convey the urgency and the importance of the recommendations. Step 4 is use simple and direct language, avoid jargon. Don't talk too much about the Internet of Things and how the neural networks can be used. Talk about for example, the use of the homemade weather stations, how they are going to be utilized and how beneficial they will be for the farmers, and that if policy is allowed, then we need to have more of that. So talk about use the language that is straightforward and accessible to the broad audience. Step 5 highlights the evidence and benefits. So include any compelling evidence that supports your key messages and mention the benefits of implementing the recommendations. So you can highlight one key recommendation within the key messages based on the evidence that you may have, any compelling evidence that supports your message. So an example here, back to our Ethiopia example. Ethiopia, so the clear problem is Ethiopia's fragmented climate governance structures are hindering effective NDC implementation and climate resilience efforts. That's the clear problem. Then the main recommendation is establish a national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment. Establishing a national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment will streamline climate initiatives and enhance coordination. And then there is the rationale and evidence, which is very important. Centralized coordination has proven successful countries like Kenya, leading to more effective climate policy, implementation, and monitoring. Then the call for action. Immediate action is needed to create this unit, leveraging existing frameworks and international support to achieve Ethiopia's ambitious climate goals. So the key message should be summarized in 2-3 sentences. For example, this key message: Ethiopia's fragmented climate governance hinders effective NDC implementation and climate resilience. Establishing a national climate coordination unit within the Ministry of Environment will streamline initiatives and enhance coordination as informed by success in Kenya, where a centralized coordination led to better policy implementation and monitoring. Immediate action is needed to create this unit, leveraging existing frameworks and international support to achieve Ethiopia's goals. So actually, this can also be shortened and be very clear in terms of providing what action, the problem that is there. So there is fragmented climate governance, and the solution, which is developing or establishing a national coordination unit, which will be domiciled under the Ministry of Environment. And then it will streamline the coordination activities based on evidence of other countries which have implemented similar coordination units. Simple. So I don't know whether there are any questions before we look at the next steps. If there is any question, please. I think it's important. Any question? I know there was a lot of very short time for this. We could have actually done one or two examples together and be able to understand better or get clearly what. So we will be able to share these presentations to all of you. We, as I mentioned earlier, as we mentioned yesterday, the development of these policy briefs will be co-authored with the team here and the project team. So we will continue to have this conversation and maybe actually practically do this with you so that you can be able to understand and become experts in crafting policy briefs. So in terms of our next steps, each project team will submit fully developed policy brief by the 2nd of August 2024. And then that draft will be reworked with the team and reviewed, and of course in consultation with all of you, and then come up with a clear or rework and improve that before we publish, and then we submit for by 15th of August, then finalize the reviews and finally publish this by the 30th of August. So we basically have this month, this coming month, to have your policy briefs ready and ready for advocacy. I don't know whether there is any other thing that I have forgotten. Please share those documents. That is where we will start from. Those documents that we said that you developed yesterday, the ones that you've read today, we need them so that we can begin the exercise and maybe inform you on the next things that we're doing from those documents. Share them with Joel, and then we'll be able to get them and begin the process of developing these policies. Joel, I think I'm done for now, and please, I don't see anyone asking questions. Perhaps they are tired. I understand. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be available for any questions through the WhatsApp group or through email. Please feel free to get in touch, and we can always look at these things together. Thank you very much. Over to you, Joel.
And thank you, Alfred. What a wonderful presentation from you. All of us benefited, and I know that each person in this group would have said, oh, what a better place, what a good place I was for these 2 days, because most of the audience, most of the people in the audience are researchers. So some may have received their first in-depth review or in-depth training on policy, advocacy, writing policy brief. And I think the key point is clear from your presentation. It is not what you wrote as a project that you present in the press policy brief. It is only the key points that speaks to policy decisions that would bring, starting from the problem that you have identified that the government can address. So we may be talking about the use of AI and all that, but you can see from what Alfred has presented, it is clear that as you are discussing about use of IoT, remote sensing, weather stations, in what we're doing, you should be looking at what is the key policy problem in adoption, where the government or other stakeholders should come in. And again, I love what Alfred mentioned, that as you are making your recommendation, the specific recommendation should address which of the stakeholders or group of stakeholders that are expected to take action. I love that part most. Alfred, I hope you will share the slides with us, and then maybe it will be part of the holistic model that we're going to develop. So we hope to share these slides with our grantees to also help them in their policy development. And then you note the timeline, and we're going to work with that timeline. 2nd of August is on Friday next week. That's 2nd August. All right. So by Friday, please let Friday be Friday. Let's have a policy brief. Maximum 6 to 8 pages. It's not going to be more than 10 pages, 6 to 8 pages maximum. And what you have now forms a background to what you are going to give us. And what you're going to give us is not the technical machine learning languages, please. We don't want to see it in a policy brief. A policy person that is not a journal reviewer. He's interested in what tool, what technology, what action influences what he wants to, provides an evidence. So saying you use machine learning, you use IoT, you use convolutional neural network, you use this architecture, should be expunged from your policy brief. What did you do? What effect did it, have on the community? What key challenge did the process tend to address? And what are the key findings? Succinctly targeting policies and not results in terms of numbers. You had 3,000 data sets and all that. Now we are coming down to how did those data sets influence community action? So some of these things. And I must again thank Alfred. He is the overall program manager at ATPS, and you can see why he is the overall program manager. He has the experience. So if you become a professor, a doctor or not, without having the experience Alfred has, you will remain in the research institutions without talking to the policymakers. So we can also consult Alfred to train us more. So organizations that have joined us can consult us for further institutional training across your various organizations. We will be available. Alfred, we will be available to train them, and maybe they will pay us extra.
Yes.
Yes, we will be available to train them. So thank you. So we are really serious about, if you want extensive training for research institutions, we are available for consultations and we will do it for you. So I'm using this to also show that ATPS is ready to partner with other organizations. So if you are writing project proposals, we are not going to work with you as a grantee. You can bring us in as a policy expert, a think tank, an organization that helps you in policy advocacy, and be sure we will work with you on that. It has been a wonderful session, and I know it was to you. Can you show that it was a wonderful section by clicking the thumbs up so that we know that we're actually talking what is in your mind? So can we see you express either in the comment section or either in by your emotional, a show of your emotions, by those emojis? We want to see that you are happy. And so just give us a comment at the comment section briefly before we close, how you feel. We want each person just to write, how do you feel about the training at the comment section. We need that feedback. So I'm giving 2 minutes for us to type in the comment section how we feel about that, and we'll be happy to have that feedback. So remember, we will continue to engage you to make that policy brief unique. So we are going to work with you throughout the process, and so please feel free, don't be afraid. By the time we go through the process with you, you'll find out that you will actually have a policy brief co-authored with ATPS team, and then we publish it. So I'm not seeing your comments. Can't you comment? Just a line, please. Please, a line, and I want to see them. How do you feel? Just a sentence. How do you feel? Thank you. Patrick. Hilda, thank you. Jane, thank you very much. Habat, so grateful. Malik, thank you. Thank you all. Elizabeth, thank you. We're appreciating your comments. So, as a final announcement, there was a breaking news. So we will be working with, we'll be going into a detailed review process with our partners to see those projects that we can, move to the next level. One thing that I'm happy with all the projects, the idea of community partnership, community-centered project implementation. So, but there's no way with the funds we have, we're going to support all the grantees, but we're still going to work with you in the process. So please, I'm really pleading that if you are not selected for the next stage, it's not that your project was not actually viable, but because we're just, we're just trying to pick 2 to 3 projects to move up out of the 10. So you see that not all will be selected to move up, but actually we have seen promising projects from Kenya, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Uganda, from Tanzania. We hope that this project will see how they move to the next level. Again, I want to say that because we have had this event, we want to officially invite you for next event. We are shifting it from next week to upper week. It will be a dissemination event. It will be a dissemination event of a spin-off project from the current project. And that spin-off project is the Gender Innovation Project, which we piloted in Nigeria and Uganda. And we want to share the lessons, the processes with the entire team, that they can use it in whatever project grant they are submitting, and use that as an evidence that this project was implemented in the network where you are involved, and this is the result. So be ready to, when we share the flyer by Monday with you, please distribute across your network. It will be a widely attended workshop, a dissemination workshop from this network, and we will want you to come and see a project you were not aware of, but actually took place. But the process was so nice that our donors are so happy with that project. And we may, I'm assuring you, expand those projects to those who may not be selected for the next stage, because we have an assurance that that project will be test run in a wider community, many more countries. We just worked with 2 countries. We will be working maybe in more than 5 countries to implement that project. The Gender Innovation Project is the project we're talking about. So please be ready, be watchful with that flyer. The communication department through Susan will share that flyer by Monday, and you will be, please try to make a date to be in that workshop, and feel free to ask questions. I want to thank you all for your support as we, close out this session, and also close the AI4FS project, which has run now getting to 36 months. Please join us in our, let me just round up. Susan will want to talk. So please continue to work with us. We'll be reaching out to you, maybe for partnership. Be ready to join us in this journey. We love you all. You are the best, and remains the best of the team we can work with. We're happy working with you all. So, Susan, please, can you unmute yourself and
Yes,
can you
Joe,
unmute
thank you.
yourself and then make the announcement? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So I hope you have seen my message on the chat. I do have all the email addresses for the grantees, but I'm requesting, especially for the people that were representing others during these sessions, kindly send me your email addresses. We are going to share the links to the recordings once we've edited, and it will be unlisted. So only those that have the link will be able to access it from our YouTube channel. And then, Joel, I hope we are taking a photo today. That didn't go very well yesterday.
Perfect. That is why you are here. Thank you for that support. Yeah, we're taking a photo today. I'm trying to see those that are just contributors, viewers. So I'll make them contributors so that they can actually join us. Just a minute.
Joel, we are good.
So thank you very much, Alfred. We're happy to again have you. I don't know whether Professor Nicholas also is here, so that I'm not sure he's around. I'm not sure.
No, it's not here.
Alfred, so please just give us a parting word in representing the ED. Just a parting word, please.
That is a very heavy stool. Anyway, thank you very much, all of you. I think this was a very wonderful session. I wish we could have more time to really continue engaging, but I think sometimes when we say too much of something could be poisonous. So we will continue to have this conversation going forward. We've done this for many years. If you look at, please go to our technopolicy series, and you can able to see quite a lot of work we've done. All the projects that we do, we end up coming up with policy briefs that are useful in our advocacy activities. So you are welcome to read them, and we welcome you to also partner with us in developing others, depending on whichever projects that you have. If you want us to be part of that and support you in coming up with very actionable policy briefs that we can use to influence our actions and practices in our various fields, you're welcome. Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for the 2 days. It's, we have our busy schedules. We have dedicated time to do this, and it's not an easy feat, and given especially some of the works that we have to do, it's quite a lot. So sacrificing 2 hours, 4 hours, 2 days, it's quite something. So I want to thank all of you very deeply. Welcome you again, once again. Please, let's work together. And as we start our new project, please, we want you to be as active as possible, and always look forward to all the things we post on our social media platforms. Sometimes we have very informative sessions that you need to always like our posters, like our whatever we post. And, participate. We want to carry you along. We don't want to lose you after sacrificing time to teach you these things. We want you to be part of us. Otherwise, thank you very much, and we wish you a pleasant weekend until we look forward to receiving those documents. Please remember to do that. That will be the starting point of a deeper interaction. Thank you very much. Joel. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye. Have a nice day. Thank you all.